Yo boys, FaZe Doritos here. Decided to make a video today to talk to you guys about the interrupt changes and crowd control effect changes that are going to be happening in patch 10.1. I looked at this the other day on stream and instantly I thought to myself, this was a terrible idea to add this to the game. I didn't know if, these changes would be good because, like as a top end player, CC is so important and it decides whether or not you're a good player or not if you know how to utilize your CC. And at the lower end of the brackets, I would watch your guys' VODs or other people's VODs that they would send in, and you would see that a lot of the games are won or lost without any CC. Like the games would go into late dampening with very little CC on anything or very little kicks or whatever. And instantly in my head, I just think to myself, the reason why people are lower CR is because they're not using crowd control. They're not utilizing the fact that this healer used a trinket, now it's good CC. So when I saw the changes, I thought to myself, if you nerf CC when people at the bottom are already not using CC, is this only going to affect, how easy it is to play the game and hurt those that are really good at utilizing CC at the top end of the bracket? And will this make like melee cleave, meaning warrior DK, DK windwalker, windwalker warrior, all those comps that involve two melee players playing together, is that going to make those comps play better? That's what it put in my head. It's like, is it going to make it easier for people to run you down because you won't be able to CC anything? What's going to happen here? But then I thought to myself, these changes are not directed towards me. This is not catered towards people that are at the top end of the bracket. This is catered towards your average player. Now, what is average? Who is average? Who's the average player that plays this game? And what's the CR usually? And I'd say that's like 1800 and below. That's the bracket they're looking at to try to make it easier for. So I think despite these changes, people that are at the top end of the game are still going to be at the top end of the game. It's just going to make it easier for those at the bottom end to understand how to play the game. And I think that's a good change. I think these changes are good for the game just because it's going to make it easier for people to get into the game. They're not going to be too annoyed when they get kicked or whatever, because in 3 seconds instead of 4 on a skull bash, you're able to play the game. Or, like fear is going to be a lot less. It's going to be like 5 seconds instead of 6 seconds. Poly is going to be 6 instead of 8. Blind's not going to be able to use blind into sap off a rogue, for example. And that's a big difference. That's a huge change. And these changes are going to make it way more enjoyable for your average player to play the game. Now, as a higher end player, you're going to have less control. As like, let's say you're a control wizard or something. You're going to have less control and less impact on the game because you won't be able to control people as well. But I think that's okay. Like, I personally like to be able to be in control of my own destiny in the game. I like to be able to put things in CC and control the game and make it easier for my teammates to live. But let's be honest here. Not everybody plays as good as I do, or not everybody's fucking peekaboo or whatever. People want to play the game. They want to get good at the game. They want it to be not as big of a fucking skill curve. Because WoW is probably the hardest game to get good at. And the hardest game to get good at because there's all these keybinds, there's weak auras, there is add-ons, there's macros, there's, having the proper keybinds that have your buttons in certain spaces, you know what I mean? You have to have so much knowledge about the game and so much knowledge, like mechanical knowledge on how to like press your buttons and stuff like that, that the game is just too hard for your normal average player to get into and to learn. So it just makes it impossible for people to jump into PvP and try to learn it and try to get good at it. So in a way, this is a good thing. Like, it might make it easier for people to play the game, and it might suck for like a higher end player because he's like, wow, I put all this work in and now like a noob or whatever can just get like higher CR now. But you shouldn't look at it like that, right? That's a very restrictive way to look at it. I think a lot of like top end people look at the game like that, and that's not the right way to look at the game. That is not the right way, and that's not going to make the game better. Right now, what we're trying to do in WoW, like if you look at solo queues are kind of dead. You have like 30 to 40 minute long queue times, sometimes over an hour, and sometimes I only get like 4 to 5 lobbies a day. You know, like having 4 to 5 lobbies a day as a top end player while streaming and queuing up nonstop, that sucks. I'm like restricted to playing 2v2 most of the time if I want to get content out like that when I'm streaming. So I can understand that from Blizzard's perspective, they want to fix the queue times. They want to make the game more enjoyable for everybody. They want people to be able to just press the queue button, and within like a minute or two, you have a queue. They don't want people to be in a situation where they're sitting 30 to 40 minute queue times just to play the game. And this is a step in the right direction. Shadowlands was a step in the wrong direction, and BFA as well, and Legion, I'd argue. And now it looks like they're finally starting to understand the community to the point where they're like trying to force changes to come out there. They're doing big changes. They're trying to actually make the game better. And it might not be the changes that we want to see, but at least it's changes. In the past, we wouldn't get changes for like 6 to 7 months. Remember that, guys. 6 to 7 months with no changes to the game. So this is a really good change. Like, obviously you're gonna have to do other tunings to the game. Like, you're gonna have to buff healing, or you're gonna have to nerf damage. You know what I mean? Since CC is going down, you're gonna need to be able to compensate for the less CC in the game by nerfing damage or buffing healing. So that's gonna have to be adjusted. We have yet to see those adjustments happen on the patch notes, you know, so we're gonna have to wait and see when those adjustments happen, because without those adjustments, the game might be horrible. So outside of like what's happening here, this just tells me that they're looking at the game, they're actively seeing what's going on, and they're trying to fix the game to make it better, but they're not done yet. They're not done yet. They still need to reduce healing or increase healing and reduce damage. They still got some work to do is what I'm basically saying. So let's go down to Warlock real quick before we end this video, and let's see exactly what they nerfed. So Seduction decreased to 6 seconds, was 8 seconds. So this change is whatever, but you know, I use Seduction every once in a while. You'll be versing like a stealth team and you get sapped. You want to be able to CC something, that's when I'd use Seduction, or like in duels. That's when it's pretty good too. Banish, nobody cares about Banish. It's like whatever. That's just an ability you'd use on like Tyrant, let's say, if you wanted to pick up the talent. But now, I showed you in the other talent video, you can't even pick up Banish anymore. Like, you can't pick up Banish, and you can't pick it up because your talent tree is kind of locked in. On the Warlock talent tree, you have no mobility around. You have to pick one row of talents for the Affliction tree and one row of talents for the base Warlock tree. You have no options. I don't like that, but that's just how it is right now. So let's look at Axe Toss. I personally hate Demo Locks. So any change to Demo Lock is a good change to the game. You know what I mean? This is awful. This spec is annoying to verse. It's awful. It's not fun. It's terrible. So they're nerfing Axe Toss by 1 second, but they're doing that to everything. Everything, as you can see, is getting a general nerf. This is what I was talking about. They're making humongous PvP changes, guys. This is gigantic. Everything is getting reduced. Even Earth Grab Totem, the fucking Root Totem, is getting reduced to 6 seconds, was 8. Hex, 6 seconds was 8. Grimoire Felguard, of course, 1 second off. Spell Lock. Okay, so every kick in the game is going to go to 1 second less. So Counterspell is no longer going to be a 6 second lockout. It's going to be a 5. Spell Lock's no longer going to be a 6 second lockout. It's going to be a 5. And every single ability like that will be like that. So that's an interesting change. We got Stormbolt going down to 3 seconds. It was 4 seconds as well. So Stormbolt is no exception to the rule. We scroll down, and actually look at Rogue. Look at Rogue, guys. This is huge. This is huge. They're nerfing Rogue. Rogue not being able to look at this. This is what I was telling you earlier. You can't blind into a sap anymore. And why is blind 5 instead of 6? You know, like how poly is 6 instead of, like if you go to poly, look, it's 6 instead of 8. But why is blind 5 instead of 8? It got a 3 second nerf. Blind got a huge nerf, and blind's a 2 minute cooldown. I don't like rogues as much as the next guy, but this is big. 5 seconds instead of 8 is kind of massive. I think they should still have blinded as sap in the game. No, like, a lot of people are going to disagree and they hate rogues, but I don't like rogues either. I rage about rogues all the time. I just think that there's like skill mechanics in the game that's been around since forever, and you probably shouldn't shake up the game like this. What is rogue gonna do with less CC? Rogue is like a CC class. Like sap 6 instead of 8. Kidney shot no longer gonna be like kidney shot's getting nerfed into the fucking ground. I don't know what this is gonna do. Like the rogue changes here kind of just make rogue really bad. Priest, mind control duration decreased to 6 seconds in PP was 8. Shackle undead, of course. Psychic horror. This is your stun. Mind control. This is not a big deal, but it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal in the sense that like nobody really uses mind control. It's very rarely used. It's just crazy when you look at this stuff. You just see every CC is reduced by 1 second or 2 seconds, and then you look at blind, and blind's 5 instead of 8. Listen, boys. Blizzard hates rogues. All throughout time, we thought Blizzard loved rogues. Now it looks like Blizzard fucking hates rogues. What is going on here? Look at this. 5 seconds instead of 8. Oh my god. So these changes, dude, are just so massive. And they're taking out this gladiator trinket thing, so you're not going to have 15% reduced CC from the trinket 2 set. So this is what it is. You're not going to be able to reduce CC further unless you play Orc. So guys, isn't that crazy? You're not going to be able to reduce CC further unless you play Orc. So everybody's going to go back Orc. Maybe this was like a tactical decision from Blizzard to get people to spend more money on a race change or faction change. I just think that's funny. So they're getting people to go back Orc, and everybody was Dark Iron before because, you know, Assassination Rogue was a thing. This further tells me, guys, if you're playing whatever race you're playing, let's say you're playing Troll, let's say you're playing Human, whatever it is, don't swap your race just because Blizzard does a nerf or a change, because they change the game constantly. I think this is a decision they do consciously to get people to spend more money on the game. So I would save your bucks. Save your Bezos bucks, boys. Don't spend that money. Hold on to your money, okay? Blizzard's just fucking with you at this point. Also, guys, this is another big change. Critical Strike now deals 150% of base damage and healing in PvP combat, was 175%. This is massive. For any class that's a crit-based class, Warrior, Ret, what else? Sub-Rogue, there's one more. I'm trying to think of it. Ellie Shaman. Oh my god, like these changes are so massive for those big bursty classes in the game. This is a tremendous change. People don't realize that this is one of the biggest changes besides the CC and interrupt. This is gigantic. So we're going to see massive changes in 10.1. 10.1 is going to be a completely different game, guys. I don't know what to expect. The meta is going to change. The way you play WoW and the way you think about winning games is going to change so dramatically. I can't even imagine how the game is going to feel. So guys, I just say stay strapped in. It's going to be a fucking journey. It's going to be a fucking journey, okay? When this new expansion comes out, everybody is going to be like, what the fuck? Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck? I mean, not expansion, new patch, but this is basically an expansion at this point. The game is changing so drastically in one patch. Anyways, boys, thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to talk about this a bit. And hope everybody has a good day. And I'm streaming today. If this video comes out today, it's March 13th. So anyways, boys, catch y'all later. And take care. Peace.